Hello, I'm PJ Bishop. Welcome to my channel and a new series with the Oakland A's. I hate doing this, but I keep starting over as Out of the Park just can't seem to get their game fixed. It seems like every new patch brings hope in one area but tears down something else. In the last save, I noticed that the TCR was completely out of control. I had guys that went from 70 overall to 50 or even 45 overall in a span of just half the season, which is just unrealistic. Before my prospects even got to play their first game, they went from 65 potential to 55 or 50 potential in just a matter of one off season without even playing. So it seems like they broke that part of it. I'm not sure what their goal is because I don't understand what's the point of having a development budget. Why have coaches who have a development trait, a mechanics trait, and an aging trait if all you're going to do is just TCR the hell out of the league, and it treats a first-round pick the same way it does a 20th round pick, which just doesn't make sense. I know in rare instances, somebody drafted late does end up being good, and plenty of guys fizzle out or never reach the potential that are drafted in the first round. But this game doesn't treat the first rounders the same way or different than it does a 20th round. It treats them all just the same, when in fact that's not the case. And there's real world proven data that shows that yes, guys picked higher tend to do better than guys picked lower. Are there instances where it's the other way around? Yes. But so that's the main reason why they did come out with a new patch again, which is also, I want to love this game so badly. I really do. I want to love this game. I love baseball. But we're almost through with the actual baseball season, and they're still trying to patch the game to fix things that should be basic. I think player development should be a basic thing that they should have nailed down by then. It's because that's a huge part of the game. Is player development. This isn't the NFL where there's no minor leagues and pretty much everybody on the active roster plays some way in some form or fashion, whether it's in a dime package or the fifth receiver, whatever the case may be. This is, you got minor leagues and it's a known thing for years now, and they still can't seem to develop guys properly. They're also having a hard time, I think, adjusting to the reality of the real world, where players that get drafted aren't as crappy as they make them out to be. Same thing with the international free agents. I hate how they make them so lowly rated that they can't even compete in the Dominican Summer League because they're like 20 overall when they should be, and that's 20 overall in the Dominican Summer League when they should be at least average to above average and better than most of the guys. But anyway, I digress. Let's just get into what this is about, which is the Oakland A's. The game settings, I did change some things that I normally haven't. I believe they also said they adjusted the injury rating, so I'm curious to see what that means. I left the ratings rate. I was reading something up on this, and if you want a more challenging experience, you want less weight to be carried in stats and more weight carried in the ratings. Otherwise, the AI falls in love with guys that played well when their ratings suggest that they aren't that good, or vice versa. They hate guys that had a down year or struggled when in reality they're actually really good. And sometimes people struggle. They have a bad year. Acuna had a couple years ago, he had a pretty pedestrian season. Now he's arguably one of the best players in all of baseball. But what I'm trying to say is, I used to do, I believe, 40, 30, 20, 10. I think 60, 25, 10, 5 is more accurate. This way the AI, it should be more difficult to trade with the AI. They're not going to give up the good players just because they had a down season. Because they're going to do what I do. They're going to look at the ratings and go, Nah, he just had an off year. Could have been injuries. Could have been many things. Let's see. Did I change anything else? I want to change something. I don't think I changed anything else. I think everything else remains the same. The options, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm controlling everything, except for the player strategies and the player development focus, which again, take it or leave it. It's another one of those features that seems to be rather useless. In my opinion, it seems rather useless. Because it's not like you're really affecting anything beyond what they're already going to develop. Again, if you have coaches that are supposed to help with development mechanics and aging, then let the coaches and your budget determine that. And then, of course, you can still focus on guys. But I feel like the coaches and your budget should be the bigger impact than just, again, TCR and telling the guy to focus a little more on stamina. What does it mean to focus a little more on stamina? But don't throw your curveball. There's only so much time in a day. You can't work out and throw a curveball. But unlike the Boston series, I will be playing every single game myself. Not the minor leagues, just the major league game. Because I don't think they handle my bullpen the way I want it. My name is not exclamation point. My name is Price. That's what the P stands for. Oh man, I can't see. Get the lights off. There we go. That's better. So that's mainly the same. Let's take a look at my organization, my front office. Another thing about the Oakland A's is they're a challenging team. You have the smallest budget, you have the smallest payroll, and as you can see, market size, fan loyalty, fan interest, it's about as worse and bad as it possibly gets. Unlike Boston, day one, the reason why I'm so low on money, I purged my entire staff. I purged them all. I released everyone. And this is a tip for me. I don't know if it works best or not. I'll find out. This will be the save that I'll do it. But I hired staff according to the levels of baseball that they're in. So for my Major League Ball Club, all my coaches, I tried to find guys that were the best at handling aging. This way, I can sign or keep players at an older age, and perhaps they won't fall off a cliff as quickly, so I don't feel so bad giving them those long-term contracts with the thought of them losing their skill and being worse than, 35, 36, 30. Hopefully, with everyone's focus being aging the highest, I still made sure they had good development and good mechanics and all that stuff and good at whatever else that they were in. But I made aging a priority for the Major League Ball Club. For my AAA, AA, and High A, I made the mechanics the priority. Because by the time they start getting up to the upper minors, they're starting to become a lot more developed already. Like they're very close to their major league development. Like some of the guys are already at, 45, 50, 40, 45, whatever it is, with the exception of the guys that are rated to be 55, 60, and above. So I made mechanics the priority for these guys here, thinking that perhaps they can help, because supposedly the mechanics are supposed to help change the talent rating. So if a guy has, let's say, 55, or let's say he has 40 stuff, the mechanics is supposed to help him maybe get 45 stuff, maybe get 50 stuff, along with development and aging and all that stuff. That's what I believe. It's very hard because you don't get clear instructions. The developers haven't really made it clear anything. They kind of make you just figure out things on your own. But that's my theory, and we'll find out if that works. And for my lower leagues, the low A, the complex league, the Dominican Summer League, I put my focus on development. I actually want the guys to develop because I want them to get through these as quickly as possible. Because you don't want your guys sticking around the low leagues forever. You want them to develop, get their get their stats right, get their ratings right, and get into the upper minors, in my opinion, as quickly as possible. You want to shoot them up through the system. Obviously, you want them to play well. You want them to develop well. So I put development as the priority for the lower leagues, so they can kind of fire them through this, because you're going to get an overload of guys. Every draft, you're bringing in 20 guys. Like, I want to find out who's developing and who's not, so I can weed out the guys who aren't good enough, and then promote the guys who are good enough. And same thing with the Dominican Summer League. You get scouting discoveries all the time. Most of them are junk, so you're going to have to weed out through them. But if on occasion the TCR works for one of them, I like for him to develop and get him up, get him moving through the system. So development is a priority in the lower leagues. Trying to get an extra ratings boost is the priority in the upper minors. And in the majors, it's trying to keep them from losing their skill. In the majors, at least that's my goal. And we'll see how it does. It's obviously a lot tougher, considering that I'm taking over one of the worst organizations in baseball, and that is the Oakland A's. Not only are they one of the worst on the field, they have a terrible farm system. They have a terrible team. In my opinion, the owner is terrible. And it's not the fans' fault, but now they're obviously not interested. I would either if you're going to move out on me. I mean, if my girlfriend told me she has a new boyfriend, but let me hang around the house for a little while, I wouldn't be happy. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, use my stuff. That's fine. Use my resources. Here's some money. Have fun with your boyfriend tonight. Yeah, no thank you. I would be upset too. Let's take a look at the salary just to see what we inherited here. So, depending how bad we are, I mean, if we're competing for a wild card spot, I would keep these guys. But a lot of these 1 year, mid-30s or early 30s guys, we'll probably try to get rid of. It seems like everyone else is under really good team control, and there's no point in getting rid of anybody here and for prospects. But if we're doing bad, look for Ross, Alex, Diaz, all these guys to be trade bait to try to bring in some prospects and bolster up a pretty weak farm system. I don't think I was able to do much. Like I said, I'm running low on money because of the staff that I signed. Like I said, I want to sign it. I went out and signed an A plus grade staff. Everybody is really good. So our coaching should not be an issue. My scouting is the next focus, trying to get that up. But again, scouting is at a minimum right now. Player development is at a minimum right now. Hopefully that will change in the off season. As you can see here, I put highly favors tools. This gives you you're going to more likely find, this is another reason why you'll find busts more often as like when you look for guys with highly favored, because the highly favored tools, he's going to give you the best possible outcome of that player. So if he's not going to reach that potential, obviously his overall is going to start dipping, his ratings are going to start dipping, and we're all going to cry foul and go, this game is broken. Every time I draft a guy that's rated 80, he drops down to 65 or 55. Well, sometimes that happens. You can't have all 80 players. Like if everyone drafted a superstar, the whole entire league will just be superstars. There'll be 30 new superstars every year, and you can't have that. That'll make no sense. So you have to have guys that end up being average that were thought, like, look at Jordan Walker. I say Jordan Walker because I have Jordan Walker in my dynasty, and I'm very disappointed because I thought last year he looked pretty darn good, and this year would be the next step forward, like Corbin Carroll did last year. But instead, he's taking a step backwards and looks worse than he did ever before, so it's kind of sucks. But same thing here. Guys aren't going to progress exactly the way you want them to. Otherwise, would all be 100 for 100 in draft picks, and so would every other team, and then everybody would be a superstar and just be a league full of superstars. It can't be that way. But as you can see here, international grade is outstanding, amateurs is excellent, scout and minor is excellent. So I'm going to get the best reads on the young guys. Like even if we do slightly miss a player here or there, it shouldn't be too bad because A, he can scout them very well, and B, that's where I'm putting more of my emphasis anyway. So that should help. So that's pretty much it for this video. I think for the next video we're going to go over. We're going to go over the pitching staff. Again, this team is not. I'm going to do my best to stay competitive. I don't know how competitive I can be. It's not a very good team, but we'll try our best. So that's it for this video. The next one is going to be the pitching staff. Hopefully, we can small ball our way to at least a respectable record and maybe even sneak into the playoffs. You never know.